Joining me now is Harjit Sajjan, former Minister of National Defence of Canada. Welcome, sir, to the program.
Great, thank you for having me.
So first, what would Canada be signaling by sending a small number of troops to Greenland for training exercises?
First of all, I'm sure the Prime Minister and Minister of Defense is weighing the various options, talking to allies, because the situation is deeply concerning. I can only understand the anxiety that it's creating within the NATO members. Personally, I think it'd be prudent to send troops on a training exercise in Greenland with the European NATO members. It just sends a very strong message, and a message that there is strong unity in NATO, and when there's a concern like this, nations do come together, and Canada's always been there. But I'm sure the Prime Minister is looking at various options and weighing various things. But this sends, I think, a very strong message of the unity and the strong relationship that Canada has with its partners.
Sends a strong message to Donald Trump. What do you think his reaction might be if Canada does decide to send troops to Greenland?
What I hope, I've met President Trump a number of times during the first administration. There has been some difficult conversations when it comes to security and defense spending. But one thing I found is that, he was at that time reasonable to listen to what other nations were doing. And at this message, the real message that it sends is, hey, listen, European nations are stepping up. Canada has been stepping up for some time. So when we look at overall security and nations doing its part, this is a perfect example of this. Yes, this is within the context of the immediate challenge of what President Trump is trying to propose here. But at the end of the day, this sends a very strong message of unity, and I think it's a very good one. And what concerns me the most out of this is, this is something that NATO members shouldn't have to be doing. It's only emboldening people like President Putin and other adversaries that potentially be out there. That just kind of shows us that the U.S. May not be there when things get tough. But I can assure you, sending troops on a training exercise, which NATO members do all the time, I think will send a very strong and important example, and one that hopefully President Trump sees in a positive way.
Now, Carney has landed in Switzerland for the World Economic Forum. What opportunities will Davos give Canada to coordinate with allies on security issues like Greenland, like the Arctic?
Well, first of all, I think this will be a good opportunity for leaders to discuss some of these challenges. Look at what is the real intention, what are the different nuances, and look at some of the consequences that some of these actions are taking. But I think what it really sends a message is the importance of the Arctic. We in Canada has put a significant significant emphasis on what we need to do in the Arctic, and it's challenging. This is not just about putting money. This is about developing even the technologies on how to operate up in the north. I visited Alert. I've had invited the Secretary General of NATO to visit, and I believe I actually made a trip after I had left. Just goes to show the challenges of the Arctic and the role that Canada can play. And I think the investments that Canada was started making in the past, and especially now, will demonstrate what Canada can bring to the table, but the importance of the Arctic and what it plays from a geopolitical perspective, and that it's important for all nations, European nation allies, to be mindful of. There are a lot of security risks. There's a lot of economic opportunity, and we need to be mindful of this. Strategic investments, and not just any type of investments not only in the military, investments for the people who actually live up in the north, and coordinating with our other Arctic allies, especially within the Arctic Council, is very important. And here's the interesting part. In the Arctic Council, probably one of the best, what I would say some of the most productive discussions, even with Russia, would take place at the Arctic Council before the significant challenges that President Putin put by invading Ukraine. So hopefully this will be, I think, a thoughtful discussion that broaden people's mind of the importance of the Arctic.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your thoughts today. We appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That is Harjit Sajjan, former Minister of National Defence for Canada.